This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. Graham Forsyth wants to know, what show or event did you receive your biggest payday for? He's not asking for you to tell him the amount, but the particular show or event. Do you remember your single biggest payday for a single show? Not the amount, but what the event was.
Yeah, let me think. I can sort through that probably. That would probably be
WrestleMania 5?
No. For that time, it was a good payoff, but it was believe it or not, I guess it was for Crockett. It was for the one that I basically quit on.
Really?
Yeah, it was I had stated earlier on one of the podcasts, it was half of 25, and I think I'd misquoted and said 11.7 or something. 12.5 was exactly half of what Crockett had told me he was going to pay me. And that's what I got. Supposed to have been 25, but it was 12.5. And guess that was still even the single biggest payoff I ever got. I never made the top money that top guys made. And hey, I'm not complaining, because it's a ton of money and a lot more than I'm worth, a lot more than I should have coming. It's more than I'm qualified to make anywhere else in the real world. So I'm not lost on the fact that I've been very fortunate, and I'm very grateful for the money I've made, but it was not, anywhere near what most top guys have made in the business. You would be shocked if you looked at 20 years of my salary per year compared to what other guys made.
It's pretty remarkable, to talk about how much the money has changed. And I know there's a lot of guys out there beating the drum saying, oh, the wrestlers are grossly underpaid. And that's an argument for another day, I'm sure. But there's a considerable amount of the WWE roster who's been established for a long time and blah, blah, blah. But just like a couple of their best years, and they would have eclipsed even more than what Rick made in his whole career. I mean, it's phenomenal, the money that's involved in this industry now.
Yep. You bet. You bet it is. And it's, the one thing I always had to do is when things were going, in my mind, not as good as they should have, or I felt like I should ask for something, or, I would always go, now, okay, let's evaluate this. You're worth if I go back to cutting meat, I'm worth about 30 grand per year out in working my ass off in a freezing cold freezer. If I sell cars, probably less than that. I'm really not qualified to make a lot out in the real world, where people are really having to budget their money and work their ass off and get all the overtime they can get and make ends meet. I just need to crawl back in my shell and shut up. I'm very fortunate.
It's a good perspective. Being thankful for what you have is always a great perspective.
And I
am. Leon wants to know, when you were wrestling, how hard was it to do your taxes? Since we're talking about money, I thought we'd stay there. I don't think some of our maybe younger listeners have ever thought about this, but if you're wrestling in different states, boy, that really complicates all the different documents you have to gather, right?
Not really, when you got a wife that does everything. No, the thing about it is Tim Horner, who has been really a lifelong friend of mine. He was my first roommate in the business. He allowed me to move in when I was, went to work for Watts, and I didn't know shit from Shinola about the way to conduct yourself, in the business. And he really taught me a lot as far as, okay, you live here and here's why. It's the center point of the territory. It'll cut down on your driving, da, 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 da. Number one, you need to have a roommate because you need to split expenses and all these different things. And he said, the first thing I'm going to tell you, I don't know you at all, but I'm just going to give you some advice. Get you a financial advisor And I'm going, well, shit, I ain't making any money. Why do I need a financial advisor? Get you an accountant, and do not, I repeat, do not ever hesitate from paying your taxes. Pay them before you pay anything else. A lot of guys get in trouble letting it go, thinking they'll get to it on the next big payday and they'll send them some money, and they end up getting 2 or 3 years behind and they're ruined financially. He said, pay your taxes. And I never wavered on that. If anything, I overpaid.
Right.
But yeah, they would each state would send you the deal in the mail, and how much you had made in each state. And you would get all that stuff together. And we always had an accountant. And we took it to them and made sure that you paid all those taxes. If you were trying to do it yourself, it could be a mess. That's why I think you need to have a professional and always pay your taxes. If anything, overpay them, because it'll just float over to the next quarterly. But pay your taxes out there, guys, if you're listening. That can catch you up and ruin your life if you wait a year or two.
Clay Wright says, some years back, I ran into Ole at an autograph session. He went into great detail about getting screwed out of a $25,000 payoff when he was kicked out of the Horsemen. Is this something that really happened, or was he kayfabing me before? I've never heard the story.
No, I don't know. I don't know if he had a conversation with Jimmy about, Ole's deal was totally separate from ours. Got to remember, Ole was an owner. He was a booker. He was always a top guy. His negotiations would have been entirely different than a guy like mine. Him agreeing to come back and work, he might have had a totally separate deal than the rest of us. I never heard that specific, conversation. And I don't think he would be thinking about the one. Maybe he was referring to the pay-per-view that we were talking about, that we're supposed to get the 25 grand for. I don't know. That would be skipping way ahead, and be talking hypothetically. Who knows? But I don't know about that particular story.
John wants to know, who was the worst dressed wrestler in real life?
Probably Cactus.
Yeah. I mean, that's the answer everybody's got to go to. I mean, it's just sweatpants and a t-shirt, right?
The rib was on us, though. It became such a part of him and his gimmick, you had to leave it alone. So he was able to show up at work in his pajamas and get no heat for it. And everybody else was business casual, right?
Super comfortable ironing stuff. I mean, it's a whole process. Meanwhile, as you said, he's just rolling up in his pajamas, comfortable as all hell.
Sometimes with feet in them.
I really hope that was the case. Feet. That'd be
feet
tremendous.
in his. Now I'm making a joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, pajama bottoms and a flannel shirt. He's good to go.
Oh man. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at savewithconrad.com.